Hey, 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 it's time for another edition of the Cseekly Recap. I'm your host Csomm, and I'm here to go a bit deeper into the topics that I covered in my shorts. The footage behind is from the game Dragon Age 2. Let's get this show on the road. Our first topic today is about Dragon Age 2. Whoa, what a coincidence. We also have a footage from Dragon Age 2. Anyway, Dragon Age 2 ended up being heavily compromised because BioWare had only 16 months to build it. The team cut about half of the quests and rushed the writing process, which led to a smaller, rougher game than originally planned. When I first saw this article, I felt a bit vindicated, so to speak. See, back in the day, when I was playing Dragon Age 2 for the first time, I felt there was something off. And that's me being generous when I'm saying that something felt off. Fact being, a lot of things felt off. For example, they reused environments and recycled assets. Same caves, houses, and dungeons repeated constantly. I think only the enemy placement changed, and because of that, exploration became predictable because areas looked identical. Story pacing felt uneven, some plot arcs ended abruptly, and the final act is very fucking rushed. And now we know why. Moving on, compared to Dragon Age Origins, the RPG mechanics were much simplified. I remember wanting to play Arcane Warrior, which is a class that I played in Dragon Age Origins, but no, you couldn't even pick that damn fucking thing. You just had 3 specializations and fuck you. Combat was also shitty because it was repetitive, it felt like button spamming, especially if you're playing like a two-handed warrior. Enemies just appear suddenly from thin air during fights, and then encounters become repetitive. Unlike Origins, the game mostly takes place in one city, which means that you have limited variety in location, the world feels smaller, and there is too much back and forth between the same area. You would just basically switch day and night cycles, so to speak, but you will still go to the same area, but it's darker because it's nighttime. Quests were more linear and less reactive, which means there weren't a lot of branching outcomes. There was less impact from you, the player, about decisions, and dialogue choices were laughable. Still to this day, I hate that fucking dialogue wheel. I just can't fucking stand it. I could go on and on about the issues that I have with the game, but these are just ones that are on top of my head. The point being, the game was bad, and there was a huge outrage when you said something along the lines that the game isn't good, or that Dragon Age Origins is superior game in every way, shape, or form. And like I said, finally, we know the truth. I wasn't blowing hot air out of my ass, I actually made proper points. Like I always do, but people are kinda blinded. They don't see the reality of situation, particularly when we're talking about fanboys. And the fanboys back then, when it came to Dragon Age 2, were insufferable. What's also interesting is that from this point on, everything kinda went to shit when it came to Dragon Age as a franchise. Take a look at Dragon Age Inquisition, for example. It didn't improve a lot. In fact, some things are very fucking worrisome in that game. For example, the most common complaint I had when I was playing that game is that it felt like a single-player MMO with fuck ton of repetitive tasks. Huge maps with little meaning, large number of fetch quests, and tasks that felt like busywork rather than narrative quests. The story was also very fucking questionable. I mean, in the beginning it kinda starts strong, but then it becomes slow and diluted by side content. There was some kind of a villain, but I don't remember him, and that tells you a lot how forgettable he was, or she, or whoever the fuck it was the villain. The game felt grindy as fuck, the combat was also problematic, open world was open and barren, and that's about it. And finally, I would say, it lost its classical RPG depth that we had in Dragon Age Origins. I mean, this is just the continuation of the issues that we had in Dragon Age 2, so it just kinda built up on that pile of shit. And then we have the latest entry in the series, that abortion which is called Dragon Age Veilguard. I don't even wanna touch that game wearing a hazmat suit, let alone think about it. Because to me, that's not a Dragon Age game. Fact being, if you remove the Dragon Age from the title and it was just Veilguard, you would never ever consider that game to be part of the Dragon Age universe. Only when you dug deeper into the shit, you would kinda realize that it is the part of the same lore and same universe just because you can hear familiar names, places, and all that shit. So overall, I would say Dragon Age is basically dead as a franchise. And unless they make serious changes, both in combat, art style, narration, story, basically every single aspect that makes a game, then perhaps we might see something positive. But until then, the best thing to do is just to ignore it and move on with your life. Speaking about moving on with your life, CD Projekt Red confirmed that Cyberpunk 2077 is finished in terms of major content. Phantom Liberty will remain the game's only expansion, while the studio moves on to new projects, including the sequel. As much as I would like to admit otherwise, this is not an unexpected move from CDPR. The reasonable person in me says that, Cyberpunk 2077 and all the baggage behind it is done. We had a good time, even though the launch was questionable to say the least. And then they kinda repaired the game and that's about it. So the best thing to do is to go with a bang, with the Phantom Liberty being the last entry in the series. But the fan inside me says that I wanna have more of that fucking game because I am enjoying it a lot. I like the setting, I like the world, the character, the stories, the moral ambiguity, everything basically that makes Cyberpunk a very good game. And even though there are bits and pieces on internet of people reconstructing the deleted content and stuff like that, I still think that at the end of the day we have what we have. And the best thing to do is to just hope for Cyberpunk 2, or whatever the name is going to be. Particularly when we're looking at gameplay systems, which is something that first game has issues with. We still have problems with NPC reactivity, traffic, economy, all that good stuff. You can check out what I actually had issues with the game in this particular video, which I'm going to link, and my hopes that these problems will be fixed in the next game. So at the end of the day, I would just say let CDPR cook their stuff. Hopefully they learn on their mistakes because it kinda seems that they are very good at that. And let's see what Cyberpunk 2 is going to be like. And here's me hoping that I will basically just abandon real life and just immerse myself into that game. Speaking about immersing yourself in a game, the Lord of Hatred expansion for Diablo 4 will massively upgrade endgame difficulty by introducing 12 Torment tiers, giving players more gradual progression, stronger rewards, and extremely difficult challenges designed mainly for top-tier builds. Yeah, you can definitely immerse yourself playing ARPGs, and Diablo 4 is not a stranger in that particular concept. Albeit certain seasons that came out were, an afterthought, forgettable as fuck, and there weren't a lot of situations where I would definitely play this game to no end. Last time that happened was the season 11, I believe, where I actually invested a lot of time. So here's me hoping that this new Lord of Hatred expansion will actually reignite my interest in that game, meaning that I would like to stay more and play more. Now, when we are talking about this particular difficulty shift from usual 4 tiers to 12 Torment tiers, I don't really know what to say about the whole situation. I guess I would have to play it and feel it on my skin, because I don't feel that I'm adequately equipped in order to comment whether or not this system change is going to be good. If I would draw conclusions, that would definitely be from Diablo 3, which had, I think 16 difficulties or something like that. And at the end of the day, I would always strive to hit difficulty 16, so the last difficulty available because of the benefits you could get. So I reckon even though they are saying that it's going to be extremely difficult, at the end of the day, I am a type of person that wants to complete every single content available in the game. And for me, that last difficulty might be some kind of a motivation to play the game further in order to get my build optimized to a point where I can just, speed run the whole situation. Compared to the current situation with Diablo 4, once you hit tier 4 and you are able to do stuff on that difficulty, which is what I'm doing now since I'm playing the game, there is not a lot of challenge there, and at the end of the day, when I get the items that I want, or at least when I set my mind that I want to get a specific item, in this case Mythic Unique, I will go and try to do it, and then basically my whole reason to live in that game, or rather reason to play that game, goes away because I have completed this arbitrary challenge that I set myself in order to give the game some depth. I guess in a month and a half, when the expansion is going to be released, we will know definitely more. And I will be there to play it, because I already pre-purchased the damn thing. The final article that I want to cover for this particular edition is about Palworld. Pocket Pair says Palworld could eventually get something like a Palworld 2.0 or a sequel, but the studio doesn't plan to support the current game with decade-long massive updates like No Man's Sky. The focus right now is finishing the 1.0 release, after which the studio will decide the future of the franchise. I remember when Palworld came out, when it was released in an early access state, and everybody was going apeshit crazy about it. Initially, I didn't jump the bandwagon because of my rule that I don't really play early access stuff, but then my friend acquired it and sent me a friend request or family bullshit on Steam so I could actually play the game without paying. Because I am cheap like that, okay? Anyway, the point being, I started playing the game, I think it was patch 0.4 or something like that, and I think I have somewhere around 200 hours in Palworld. Actually, scratch that, I have 171 hours in Palworld because right now I'm looking at my Steam library and there's the fucking number. Anyway, still a lot of fucking hours in that game. And I gotta admit, I kinda like playing it, especially when it comes to collecting all the pals and then making your base. I would say making the base was basically the go thing for me. It was kinda awesome. I made several bases and then finally I made this amazing base on that latest island of patch 0.4, where I kinda everything designed from the minute details to the kinda grand scheme of things. And then the only thing that I could do was actually breed pals, because I was sending them on those expeditions, and attempting to do oil rigs. And now when I remember that particular segment of the game, I think it was dog shit. The breeding was just basically waiting for stuff to happen, and then you want to have around, 20 pals or 40 pals, and then you compress them together to get the 4-star one, and then you're kinda pimping your team, and that's about it what I was doing. And when it came to oil rigs, they were extremely difficult, and now that I think about it, it's not about difficulty, it was how unbalanced it was. Not to mention that the rewards I was getting were dog shit. So the whole end game for me in that game when I was playing it back in the day wasn't that great, and I just abandoned it because what the fuck am I supposed to do after investing 171 hours in that game? Will I play Palworld 1.0? As things stand, I don't really know. Some other things might happen in life, especially with this YouTube stuff that I'm doing. But even if I start playing it again, I'm thinking whether or not I should continue my save or start everything from the scratch because of all the things that they have reintroduced back when I was playing. Now back to the article, in a sense that do I really think they should push it like they did No Man's Sky? And my answer is no. You should have a defined game, you should have some sort of a open endgame content so you can do stuff like we were discussing already with breeding and raiding the old rigs. But what No Man's Sky people are doing is just, it doesn't really align with me because it seems like there is a lot of bloat in that game. And by the time I go back into it, there are so many systems and I just don't really have the will to live in order to figure out how they're interacting and what should I do. It's just too much as far as I'm concerned. I always prefer a more condensed approach in that sense. You can have like 2 or 3 big expansion, couple of DLCs, and that's about it. Then again, I'm that type of a person that doesn't really do the load your save from back when you played it and then continue it because I forgot how to play the game and I feel alienated by my own stuff what I was doing. Who knows, maybe Palworld 1.0 will prove to be different for me and I will just continue where I stopped. Because now that I think about it, that base is amazing and everything that I made there is so freaking good. So it would kinda be a shame to abandon it just to start a new save. And that's basically it when it comes to the news that I covered this week. Thank you very much for watching and as always, I encourage you to leave comments. I read everything that you write and I'm very happy to interact there with you guys. If you enjoy this content, consider liking it and subscribing for more discussions like this. And that's it from me, until the next one.